Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another great session here at Cheetah Digital. I'm excited about this one today because it's all about mobile. It's everything mobile. In fact, the title is Mobile, Your Vehicle to Drive Enhanced Results Throughout the Customer Lifecycle. I am Tim Glom, the VP of Content here and the co-host of Thinking Caps podcast. Sorry for the shameless plug. Go check us out. But today I have who I think is the most cheerful employee here at Cheetah Digital, Andy Gladwin, who is the head of mobile go-to-market. Andy, you're in the UK. I'm in Denver. How are you, my friend?
I'm cheerful. Not going to let you down now, Tim. All good. How are you?
I'm doing well. As I mentioned, I'm excited for this session. I think we should dive right in for people. I'm going to show them a little graphic here so they know what they're in for over this session. You're going to explain everything and all things mobile, but we've got 4 key sections that they're going to really dig into here. Number 1, we're going to understand how to grow your audience with mobile, acquisition, etc. Number 2, how to understand your customers, how to use mobile as a channel to actually get the psychographic data and the other intent data that you need. 3, how to serve your audience, how to make their life easier, become a utility, convenience. And 4, how to retain your audience, all within the scope of mobile. Did I get it right, Andy?
I think that's pretty comprehensive.
Cool. Well, look, why don't you kick us off? I know you have a great presentation for us here today. So why don't you kick us off? Give us a little bit of what is mobile and what's it mean here at Cheetah Digital?
So mobile for us is a integrated and core component of everything we do. You talk to any of our customers and they want to be engaging with their customers in the natural, preferred and habitual environment which they operate on. And 8 out of 10 digital minutes reside on mobile.
Wow.
So within Cheetah, we have SMS, MMS, Line, predominantly in Japan, mobile wallet, push, all to help our enterprise customers best engage on these channels. And that's integrated within our acquisition through to loyalty solutions. But we've seen great growth in this. And I think that's identified by a few components of Cheetah. 1, we are truly centralized. And so we have mobile within the much broader story and mix the data assets we have from all channels to ensure contextual and relevant information hits on whatever channel that we operate through. But we're truly global and we're seeing increasing complexity and some basic use cases from more and more clients around North America, Europe, Asia, Australasia. And it's great to see our proposition resonating so well with the market. And a testament to that was a recent bit of good news where we were recognized as a top mobile marketing provider by Martech Outlook last year.
Boom. I love it. And look, mobile, as you mentioned, mobile is global. I mean, it transcends languages. So it is a channel that everybody watching needs to understand. What else do we need to know about mobile?
There's been a movement of why mobile, I don't know, 10 years ago, and now it's how. And hopefully in this session, we're going to look at a few key outlooks that I think the enterprises really capture that we can help them with to look at how can you actually redeem that benefit of using mobile and applying it to your business to get the ROI, the business results, the customer satisfaction, whatever that call to action is, to effectively provide the frictionless engagement with your customers to drive a value exchange that operates and drives value to both enterprise and customers.
Yep. No, I love it. And you and I have had the benefit of talking about this before this session. So let's dig into it, right? Where do we start? We start with growing our audience. It's that acquisition. I know you have some great examples, but take us down the road. What do we need to know about how to grow an audience with mobile?
Well, this goes back to the how. And I think that if we look at recent years, there's been a huge acceleration of physical to digital. Sure. And now there's going to be some normalization. But in the prior world, in the new world, either way, 80% of customers are using their mobile phones when they go in store to make purchasing decisions. And you also have people on the go who are there captivated saying, right now, I am looking for value. And if you as a brand have value to offer, this is not always best to do it through a website, an email. It's on the go. And on the go can be on the menu of on the menu within a restaurant. It could be over radio and TV, where there's been a huge surge in that in recent months.
I've had huge success using direct response keywords, certain keywords in mobile for growing and acquiring customers using television. So even inside of programming as well as commercial spots. So that's a huge, huge channel for mobile.
And this is it. I say that there are two things that every enterprise should think about: QR codes and short codes. Because follow the eyes, follow the ears, follow the thumbs of consumers, and be present. Create those value gateways where it matters at the times that matter, and be present. If you have value available, make sure that you have availability for customers to consume that. And this is something that you can have on the go. A great stat I heard recently: the average consumer touches their mobile phone 2,600 times a day. And to me, this is just a great example of, we talk about the mobile being an extension of oneself almost these days. But if you're saying about accessibility for someone to go there and then on the spot, whether they're queuing in a restaurant, whether they're listening to the radio on the car, whether they are drinking their cup of soda and scanning a QR code, the device to enter them and enroll them into whatever program or value exchange is always there, as the mobile's there with them.
It's so true. I never leave the house without mobile, and I stopped wearing a watch because I have my mobile in my pocket. So it has definitely changed behavior. We go everywhere with our mobile. And you mentioned it's so easy. I drive a lot. I cruise around the country. I like to see things. I live in the mountains. I'm all over the time, and I consume a lot of gas. I'm trying to go to an electric vehicle next year, but I consume a lot of gas. It's so easy. You pull up to a pump. They ask for your mobile number. You get 25 cents off a gallon. And for me, 30-gallon tank, that's a big one. So that's a good acquisition example as well that I've seen and used quite frequently. So
I'd love to add to that with just one more thing. And that's just a little bit of a tactic. And so something that I don't see enough, but works very effectively for companies who do it, that's saying, if you are going to have someone texting into a short code, go and ask them to use different keywords for different categories. It's a great opportunity to segment your customers so that, yes, they said they wanted to enroll in whatever program, but you then specifically know what product category, what service was it, for what reason are they wanting to engage with you as a company, and then you can better personalize ongoing communications. And likewise, having people to double confirm with their zip code could be a great way of getting a data asset to go, hey, we know that Tim, when he came and texted in, was looking for hardware, and he didn't want to go kitchen. He wanted hardware from the store, and we know that he's in Denver. And so next time we have a clearance sale for hardware, Tim is a perfect category where he's not going to churn, but there's going to be the value he was looking for when he engaged with us as a brand. So very simple example, but these are great ways to say, yes, we now know that you have engaged with us, but for specifically what reason. If there is an opportunity to segment at that point in time, you can start on the front foot with a very relevant relationship.
Yeah, that's great. And that gets into the understand your customers. But another example I love, I have a client that is a massive kombucha company. They sponsor all kinds of concerts from pop and jazz and blues and everything in between. They use different keywords at activation on site, hundreds of thousands of people at some of these festivals. Luckily, we're seeing music come back. And they can understand maybe the genre of music you like because of the keyword you actually use to get into their system. And that already gives them some intelligence about you. If you're at a jazz fest, you're probably not into Metallica or vice versa. So it's amazing how you can use those different keywords to even learn about somebody before they even get into your system. But should we move to section 2 here? Did we round out, the acquisition part? Do we move to how to understand your customer?
Yeah, so you've now found whatever value exchange, and you've created the gateways to bring in the customers, to grow the audience. They say they want to relate to you for whatever purpose that might be. And then, we look at how to serve your customers. And recently, I know that we've made a lot of noise around, the big topic at the moment, iOS 15. And how has that, further handcuffed some of the more traditional ways in which marketers have had to use insights and track the effectiveness of different campaigns. And to me, this further accentuates the value of mobile apps, where it has a very unique environment to get deep behavioral insights on your customers. And with that, you can then leverage that for the way in which you engage with them. So when we talk about serving your customers, understanding your customers, I'd say, is part one of this. Mobile is an incredibly invasive channel if you get it wrong. And so with that, the more data you can pick up, is going to drive the context and relevance so that you, as you engage with your customer, have a present and total understanding as to how you should be working with them, what matters to them at that moment in time, rather than having a siloed environment which may not be able to exchange data from the different channels. So, part one of this is saying, use apps, create an app environment where there is a value to the consumer, whether that's convenience, whether that's for additional promotions, for content, whatever it is. And in there, you're going to be able to start to see what's the category that the consumer always looks at? What's the price bracket they look at? How frequently are they coming into it? What recency do they have as they go in and out of the app? And with that, you start to go, okay, is this someone who's at risk of churn? Is this someone who we could be better catering with loyalty deals? What's the send time optimization? And so you have all of these capabilities of behavioral data to then go and say, okay, here's what it is now. But, one, you're able to see these insights and with that tailor your communications, but that might change through time. And as that changes, you want to make sure that you continue to be relevant. So, last week I bought a watch and then I've now done that purchase. That doesn't mean that every time I go back to that app, I want to hear about watches, or from that vendor, I want to hear it. It's about understanding, now what is it? What am I looking for? And communicating through every digital touch point with commonality and relevance in order to reduce churn, but actually drive value, which is why they've engaged with you in the first place.
Absolutely. And you're building relationships here, by the way, right? I mean, they're interacting in your app or with you via mobile SMS. You're listening and you're kind of personalizing, bringing that context and relevance back. So it's human connection.
Exactly. And where you have this treasure chest of data insights within the app, more important than any of this is getting direct feedback from customers. And so this sits in an arena where we have lots of different solutions outside of the channels themselves. But to me, it's around having all of that data collectively brought together to be able to have a lens on, at that moment in time, what is the right content, what is the right channel, what is the right timing to be sending messages that will have the right impact intended for that customer to gain the value that they intended and consume from that brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, one of the tools that you need to do this intelligently, as you're discussing, you need a centralized, data platform that can understand all of these channels, all of these signals, right? From the app, from the website, they push SMS, did they use the actual wallet? And that's what I love about the Cheetah Digital, customer engagement suite, is it does monitor all of those channels in one. Your mobile is just one component feeding and also being activated against. What do we need to know? Like, give me an industry example of how, understanding your audience might work, like maybe if you have something for retail.
This could be, as we mentioned earlier, people researching before they make a buy in a store. And so with that, we might go and say, okay, Tim is there. He's looking at menswear rather than women's wear. And Tim's looking at something for $80 to $150. And we've seen that Tim's been looking at that same item repeatedly. Now, here could be an opportunity to start sending a message to Tim. Don't know why I keep on calling you the third person. Let's just say Tim anyway, yourself. And so as this goes back and forth, you start to see behaviors going, this is someone who's looking to make a purchase. Did they make a purchase, or have they gone to a competitor to potentially make that purchase? Either way, from that, you can then go and see, is there continuity in what he's looking for? If there is a abandoned cart, could we send an email reminder now, because we've seen they're off of the app? Either push them back to the app with a push notification, or send an email saying, hey, for your convenience, next time you go, we've saved what was in your abandoned cart. Click through here, and it'll be easy for you to continue with that purchase, because it may have been a distraction of a young child, which I have two of, that has taken you away from that purchasing path, rather than anything to do with not wanting to go and redeem the value of the offer, the purchase, whatever it might be. So these are examples of being able to see and understand Tim in our example. But we might then go and say, well, Tim's gone ahead and bought this, but we now haven't seen Tim for a couple of months. And as a retailer, you're now working out, is that Tim's his normal shopping habit? Is Tim actually buying on behalf of himself? Or is he buying for a friend's birthday? Or understanding this is where you then start to have a look at further touch points of what do we know about Tim and his in-shop experience, and bringing those data points together. But within the mobile environment, we can start to go, okay, Tim's just got a big bonus, and now he's looking for $180 to $250 shirts. And so these are the items where you go and say, how can we continue to be relevant and serve Tim for what is right for him at this moment in time, and have continuity in terms of your experience, your focus, and serve you according to what you're looking for, rather than to continue to go on past behaviors. And with this, again, there's a huge amount of data and algorithms available to go and say, well, based on Tim's behaviors, we see that there's a high propensity to churn. Or based on Tim's behaviors, we know that he opens messages at 8 a.m. And we also know that Tim's in Denver, Tim's not in New York. And so let's make sure that we're doing that message 2 hours later than someone in New York with the same behaviors. But it's around having those contextual touch points based off of the data in order to really provide relevance and contextual messaging that has power. Because if you don't do that right, as I say and can't emphasize enough, mobile can be super invasive, but for the technologies that we provide and our customers benefit from, it can really drive value like many other channels can't.
Yep, absolutely. And look, you nailed me and my addiction to my Pendleton wool shirts from Oregon. I have a huge fan of those. So I think it's important to note here in this section, enterprises need to get this right? They must cater to this environment and make this process seamless. And you need tools. I mean, that's why we're talking, the customer engagement suite facilitates everything that you're talking about here. It's not disparate data silos and multiple vendors stitched together. So that's really, really important. Now that all serves the brand marketer, right? You're getting these signals, you're learning about Tim, you're planning and predicting Tim's next behavior and trying to persuade or get him that next offer. But how do we use mobile? Let's move to section 3 here. How do you serve your audience? How do you bring convenience? How do you weave those messages and touch points into their natural lifestyle? Because again, this is a very intimate device for me. So take us there. How are we going to serve our audience with mobile?
Well, I'd say the first thing to note, which is a really important point that I have repeated conversations with different enterprises around the world, is that this is part of an integrated communication flow across every engagement with a brand and consumer. And the consumer should really be directing what's their preferences, what are their behaviors, and then serve them on their terms rather than what works best or easiest or your historic tech stack has allowed for you to do so. So, my biggest point, I say, before even looking at serving on mobile, is customers do not have relationships with channels, they have relationships with brands. And so when you talk around, I don't go and say I have a great relationship with Nike through SMS and push, but an awful relationship with them at email. No, I have a good relationship with Nike. And this is where it's really important to integrate this. So as we look around mobile and the mobile channels, which we listed earlier, it's working out how do they work alongside the other channels and provide the value overall in terms of what customers are saying, doing, and the environments in which they reside on. But I'd say there are two things that really stand out, other than it just being that always on accessible devices, is the ubiquity of it. And so the mobile penetration rate in the markets that we predominantly work in is over 100%. Everyone has a mobile phone. And then the immediacy. And so with that, you can be very forensic with a high level of confidence of sending messages where you have a strong understanding that customers off the back of it are going to be reading that. And so let's take an example of, why does it matter if you send a message in the space of, 10 seconds, knowing it's going to be read, rather than something that's going to get read in 10 minutes, a couple of hours, off my personal email account, much longer. Banking. You have a fraud alert. That message needs to get there and then. A password, two-factor authentication needs to get there and then. Or even, it's halftime in the Super Bowl. Let's send out the latest betting odds. That's something that's relevant for a finite period of time. That can't come in the middle of the third quarter when the game's over and suddenly the odds have changed as soon as you go to try and play them on a website. So different examples there, but just saying that these are the kind of things in different verticals where we've talked a bit about retail, but there's so much importance as to the immediacy and how that really drives ROI for different enterprises that have unlocked this to date.
Sure. So low latency. And I used to use it as a tune-in device, when Facebook Live and everything was really, popular just a couple of years ago, and Instagram Live, you can activate your audience and get them to that channel you want. So that's another, but it has to be low latency, right? If you have a guest star or a big athlete that you're supporting through your brand and they're live, you need that low latency. So great examples there. What else you got for us?
Well, let me bore you. So going back to my roots. So yeah, spoiler alert, I apologize. December the 5th, 1992, first SMS, Merry Christmas. And we look at that as a channel and people are going, how the heck is that growing 5 to 10% year on year? And that's not because it's rich. It's not because it's become any more sexy than what it was back then, as many other channels can offer more and more. It's because it has a proven ROI based on these fundamental deliverables. So if you look at SMS and the return you get from promotional messaging, it's 2 to 8% conversion. And obviously that's going to vary depending on the order of good that's being promoted. When you look at it for appointment reminders, for restaurants, as an example, you see a 10 to 30% reduction in missed appointments, which saves a lot to covers and cost, which could then be given to other customers. For delivery notifications, you're seeing 15 to 35% improvement in missed deliveries. Again, all of these things are helping the OPEX efficiency. And most people aren't saying, hey, can you deliver me some goods? And I may or may not want them actually to be delivered. It's actually driving customer satisfaction as well as saving money for organizations. And then just one other example, a simple one is late payments. 7 to 9% improvement in late payments for enterprises, where they use SMS as part of that program. So this is just giving a bit of an insight where 90% of messages are read within 90 seconds for SMS. Yep. And that, with the high level of mobile ownership, the access to all customers, not having the technology hurdle, whether you're 15 years old or 85 years old, people know how to use text. Some other channels have been more of a technology barrier to have that engagement. For me, this is some of the simple, less exciting stuff, but incredibly powerful. And as I say, we see customers across the world continue to use this more and more with Cheetah because of the deliverables they see.
You're absolutely right. And we take it for granted sometimes. I mean, this meeting today, when we were getting ready to record this, I got a mobile alert for it. That's how I knew where I needed to be in 10 minutes. So mobile is so important here. Great examples. And I know we talked a lot about flights and airlines and how they're using it. I've told you, I was able to change a flight in less than 3 minutes with an SMS text string. Whether it was a chatbot or not, it worked amazingly well. It was serving me. No one wants to get on the phone and be on hold for 25 minutes. So another great one. But I think you talk a lot about how, flights get booked and seat selections and all that. Like, give us another example.
This is it. For me, this is a great example of a customer journey, and like metaphorically as well as literally. And you see, as a customer, you don't want to have to remember, okay, so exactly 24 hours before departure, I get to select my seat. And I'm very particular about what seat, but I'm departing at 5 a.m., which means that I need to be online 5 a.m. today. It's much easier, rather than having to remember all of these things, for someone just to guide you through and hold your hand through it. So the confirmation of you've got your message, and with that, there might be a link to mobile wallet. And with that, you're able to download your boarding pass. Convenience, done. And then you have confirmation that you can now select your seat. Okay, go on there and it guides the website, or you might want to download the app to go through that. And as you're going to the airport, you might go, hey, we have, your flight's going to depart in an hour's time, and we see that you are 20 minutes away from the airport. Should we now promote a premium queue pass to fast track you through the airport? So little examples how mobile can help the customer experience. And then one of the examples, which I didn't touch on earlier for SMS, is customer services, where you're able to provide a self-serve environment for customers to take care of themselves in common service requirements. And a great example is with flights. So as you said, you don't want to be on hold on that jingle. I don't know many organizations that have really nice jingles. Either way, generally you're on a jingle because there's a moment where there's some friction in the service, process, and stress. And so if you receive a message saying your flight's been cancelled, click here. And with that, the ability to rebook, to be able to go through that without having to go on hold for 40 minutes, remove the period of anxiety. And then you're also saving money to the airline from them not having to have how many call agents manage a huge number of customers in large bursts and a lot of dissatisfaction. That automation is just made so much easier, improving customer satisfaction, profitability for the airline in this example. And then you might follow it up with, hey, here's a voucher that you can redeem on Uber to take you to a hotel until your flight goes tomorrow. Thanks again, and whatever promotions off the back of it. But all of this is just saying you can help go through a journey for every different eventuality. And some of these things will be relevant for some journeys, others won't, gate changes, etc. But the point is that everything's going to be based on context and relevance, and that will vary from journey to journey. Some will be activated, some won't. But there are many ways to always ensure a high confidence of things being read in critical messages where it could be you making your boarding or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's all about the journey, right? So you have to invest in the people, the technology, the framework to map this out. But can you talk to me a little bit about engagement rates and what type of media, people consume? So you can send a lot of different ways and a lot of different content through there, great examples of quick touch point of customer service. But what do you get, across SMS and versus MMS and all those others?
Great question. And so when we look at North America, and MMS, unlike SMS, is not globally standardized. And so not every country has the infrastructure set up, the tariffs between consumer and carriers set up that it can work effectively. In the US, it does. And it's one of the countries where you see great success. And so where we use MMS for clients, and great examples of just simply being able to send a picture, a GIF, audio to try and show, here's what your meal is going to look like. A picture spells 1,000 words. It's much more effective. And we see 300% engagement versus SMS when you're using an MMS. And so in that environment, we heavily, for the right use case, will be directing customers to use that. Now, not every use case is something where a picture is going to be beneficial. But in many, it really helps to see the conversion, the click-throughs, and provide a much more vivid picture, literally, of what a customer may gain. But even when looking, and let me give you a bit of research, a company called MyElephant, they said that for a plain text message, so just text, 160 characters, SMS, the average attention span of a customer is 3 seconds. Now, to get your password, to get informed that your flight bookings occurred, as the examples were, that's all you need. Okay, tick. Out of sight, out of mind, don't care. Great, we can move forward. But as soon as you make it a rich message, so MMS, it goes up to 45 seconds of customer attention. And tell me a brand that doesn't want to have more attention and more of their customers thinking about them for a longer period of time to go and say, right, with this, now it's rich, what else can we learn? What are they going to do in terms of conversion and next steps? There aren't any. Everyone wants to have more time and more mind space of their customers. So ways in which we see this being effective outside of MMS is even sending an SMS with a short link. And in that short link, you go, okay, we now know it's going to a mobile handset. You click on it, and it opens up a web environment where, using experiences, you're able to leverage the haptics of a mobile phone. When I say haptics, the ability to touch and swipe and vibrate. And suddenly you have a much more interactive and engaging relationship with your customer, whereby conversions go up, churn goes down. It could be fun. It could be gamified. It could be swiping left or right to show your preferences. It could be spinning the wheel to show, what's the competition. It could be wiping off, the fog that canceled your flight. What are you getting in return? Wipe off the fog from the window, and there it is. Probably not a good one for the airline to be doing that in a moment of stress, but you get the gist. And that's the kind of stuff that we are starting to work with our clients on to say, what can you do to stand out from the crowd? What can you do to make it more interactive? And with that, how can you make it more compelling and differentiate further your organization and service from others in the marketplace?
Got it. So those haptics, those actual gestures, those are all trackable. They're signals, right? So an airline could say, hey, Where's your next flight going to go? Mountains or beach? The left, right. We all know that from Tinder, right? Swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is. Those are signals that you're collecting, preferences, etc. So amazing. Great way to learn about your customer.
I mean, one thing I'd like to add to all of this is, and sorry to be the dull point, but an important one. And it's an important one for our enterprises, and that is best practice and compliance. And so when we talk about serving customers and how do you best do it, there's so much power from the mobile channels that could be leveraged in terms, as we said, the immediacy, the engagement, deliverability, the ROI. Fine. But the way in which you serve them needs to be done in a manner that is within social hours, that it is ensuring the ability to opt out that if there is an issue. And part of what we signed when we joined the Mobile Ecosystem Forum is an SMS business code of conduct to effectively say that, as we have and continue to say, that we will continue to be compliant in everything we do and follow a code of practice to ensure that as you send messages to Peru, India, Thailand, or Canada, that we will always work to do this in a fashion that is fully compliant, but also following best practice and best customer experience so that our clients can worry about content and value, and we get rid of all the red tape of regulation and concern around how to actually deliver this. And so we do that with success with local teams across the world who are expert in delivering these programs.
No, that's great. And that's the power of platform plus people, our strategy and human connections. So really, really important. Well, that's a great section. Are we ready to move to our last and final section here?
If you are, I am.
I mean, let's do it. How do you retain your audience, right? I mean, that's the key to customer lifetime value for your customers. How do you actually keep them? So show me the ropes, man.
Well, let me start by just saying that we have got some of the biggest thought leaders in loyalty solutions, programs, and dynamics in this organization. And I'm not going to take anything away from this. I know that we have some focus sessions on that. And this is where, again, mobile is interwoven throughout all the solutions that Cheetah has to offer throughout customer lifecycle. But I'd like to say there are two items that I'd like to focus on as to, for enterprise, how can you enhance retention of customers using some of the mobile technology? And one is that, as you know, customers change. And so what your customer was a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago is different from what they are now. And so to really monitor how you best engage with them, you need to know them. And that constantly evolves. So for me, part of retaining your customer is continuing to know them. And so we've spoken about the data insights you have. And so with that, you can have observations on behaviors and first-party data. But then it's to look at how can we start to get zero-party data? How can we start to have our clients get that understanding of what is the opinions, the preferences, what is it they actually feel and want from a brand, and do that in a compelling value exchange. And for me, SMS is a great vehicle for this, where the click-through rates are 19%. So if you have a URL in an SMS, the click-through is 19% of those SMS will have a click-through in which you can start to ask questions to better understand your customers at those moments in time.
That's huge. You glazed over it because I need to bring it back up. You talked about zero-party data, right? And zero-party data, everybody should be getting familiar with this. But if you're not familiar, we have great sessions. We already had some sessions at Signals. You can go look at cheetahdigital.com in the resources section. Zero-party data is that directly declared data from a consumer, and usually it's around psychographics, right? It's things you can't deduce from behavior or infer from tracking them around the web. And it's crucial. And you had some great stats. I'm going to give you another stat. We have a great client, it's a long-time zero-party data strategy believer, Pure Archery Group. They've been using this to do giveaways. They give away great experiences, products, everything. And their mobile audience, when they send out an SMS or an MMS saying, hey, we have this new experience for you, survey, sweepstakes, whatever, they get a 70% click-through rate when they use mobile versus email. They get a great email open rate too, but mobile has been incredible for them. And they have hundreds of thousands of customers on mobile. It's not a giant brand. They don't need 100 million clients. They need 1 million of the right clients. So I can't say enough about the value exchange, offer something good, Maybe it's a survey, get some information back on each individual customer, and mobile has been a huge driver for them. But I digress. You continue on. Tell us more about this and how to retain.
Yeah, well, just to add to that, and thank you. I think that you raise a really important point there, and that is, 70% you were saying was a click-through that you're observing with this brand, and 19% is the benchmark, the industry norm for different use cases. And so, again, if you can personalize and drive relevant messages at the times that matter that are going to resonate with customers, and whatever the value exchange is in these messages, get first option for C content. It doesn't need to be around giving money off. It's around adding value, and value doesn't necessarily always transcribe to saving money. And so these are the things that we say 19%, but using the data assets that we work with our clients on gaining and best managing to help them execute, that can be much greater than 19%. The second thing that I think is worth bringing up, and the final point on retaining audiences using mobile is that of mobile wallet. When you go to a store now, and what is your behavior? How do you go and pay for something, Tim? So you go there, you go to point of sale. How do you pay?
Me, typically, I'm a contactless, but I will pull out the card generally.
Yep. And so correct answer, contactless. And so that was a nervy moment, but generally we see increased behaviors of consumers increasingly using their phone, Apple Wallet, Google Wallet to pay with their credit cards out of their mobile handset, because again, it's always with you, it's accessible. And as this behavior increases, you look at loyalty programs and go, okay, well, as you have whatever form of loyalty card within your mobile wallet, it's exactly the same behavior for a customer to be going and tapping that just after they tap to pay, redeeming points, and then potentially triggered additional messages saying, hey, you've reached a new tier, or have you thought about whatever other sale there might be while you're in store that would complement it. These are great opportunities to deliver value, but also deliver convenience. And where we talk around going from the physical to digital world and then going back to physical again in terms of engagement with customers and brands, contactless, I think, is even more heightened in terms of organizations saying, how can we do things in a manner whereby we are minimizing touch and physical contact post-pandemic for both employees and customers? And so for me, mobile wallet is a great example of this, which increasingly resonates with enterprises that we talk to for how they redeem and engage loyalty programs with their customers at point of sale.
Absolutely. I've just experienced the Del Taco, Del Yeah rewards program, where it is all mobile. It's a QR code. You just pull it open and it's contactless. You just put it under just like a boarding pass, great ways to engage your customers, great ways to get those signals back. And as we said, the reason we're talking about this is the most intimate device for any consumer out there. All right. How do we round this out? Any other thoughts here on retention using mobile?
I think it's, I look at it as a spectrum, the customer lifecycle. And so when we talk about retention, it's really a component of everything that sits underneath it, from acquisition, the data that you can gather to personalize and have a total and present understanding of your customers when you work with them, and understanding how do you communicate with them, how are they evolving to drive that retention, and then serving them, as we spoke about, on the right channels, the right content, the right time. So for me, it's all around data acquisition, customer acquisition. And then after that, it's around, once you have that, how do you best manage it and activate and execute with it to drive value? And that's why customers stay with brands, because they do that more effectively than their competitors.
Absolutely. I have brands that I am so tied to because they just make my life easy. And again, that mobile is a huge part of it. And look, you're going to need partners to pull this off, right? Mm-hmm. Map your vision. We'd love to talk to anybody here at Cheetah Digital. You can give us a ring. You can set up a demo. Heck, you might even get Andy Gladwin on the phone with you. But we have a great strategy team. We have a great platform. Weaves mobile into all the channels, as you mentioned, and we have a great strategic services team that can help you figure out what's your best plan. This has been great. Do we have any closing thoughts? Do we have anything we need to wrap up here, as we're about 40 minutes in on our session?
I think for me, it's, again, the final point I'd make is that, as per the title of the session, mobile can help enhance existing programs by using QR codes and shortcodes, grow your audience. When you have it, use your app, get more data insights, and ask for more in terms of customer preferences with SMS and URLs. And then once you have them, ensure you're using Wallet and other tools to best serve and retain your customers. So for me, it's just saying it's not a displacement. It's part of an ecosystem in which you provide an environment to serve customers. And this is a complement. And hopefully this session's helped to show a few ways in which you can add value at different stages of the customer lifecycle.
Absolutely. And look, Andy, we know you're about to create some more content for us down the road where, you're going to talk to actual customers and how they're actually activating, how they're doing these things. So there will definitely be more content of getting into the weeds around mobile with Andy. It's always great to talk to you, buddy. This has been a great session. I appreciate you taking the time on a Friday. Go have a beer. It's the end of your day. I'm just getting started here in Denver. Can't wait to see you on the next session.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's going to be a great pleasure. Cheers.
All right, everybody, go check out more content at cheetahdigital.com. In the resources section, you have blogs and papers, all kinds of things. Andy's authored a bunch of stuff in there if you want to dig into mobile and look at all of our other channels. So we'll see you next time.